I spent years suffering in silence, thinking something was wrong with me, suffering from severe self-doubt, a lack of self-trust, only to discover that it had nothing to do with me, but instead was a product of how I was raised. Today, I'm sharing how growing up with a narcissistic parent taught me not to trust myself and why I so deeply believe in going on your self-discovery journey to discover who you are as your most authentic self in order to live life according to your own terms. So I'm not gonna lie, y'all, talking about this is very difficult, especially because I did not set out to record this video today. To be honest, I was gonna talk about something completely different, but as I was preparing to film, I was just not feeling what I was gonna talk about. And it popped into my head that, hey, maybe it's finally time to start sharing your story and explaining why you're even going on this self-discovery journey, while you're so adamant about learning who you are as your most authentic self, all of these things. I know that sharing my story will help somebody out there who needs to hear it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a little scary to really start to dive deeper. I felt myself getting tense, so I had to take some deep breaths, and I'm gonna do it again before I really jump in here. I would love if you would take a couple of deep breaths with me. And then I'm just gonna shake that shit out, okay? Okay? All right. I am acutely aware that narcissist is used as a buzzword these days. For people in situations that don't represent that accurately, my story is real, and I'm not using it as a buzzword. This is something that I'm in active recovery for, active trauma therapy for. And so this is a real thing. This is my real life. And those of you who have had similar experiences, I know you can relate. Growing up, I thought that I had a pretty good childhood, which I did, I mean, everything wasn't all bad, but I thought that the relationship that I had with my mother was healthy, to be quite honest. Like, I would have friends who I knew had challenging relationships with their mothers, but I, at the time, was like, oh, kind of like, I can't relate. Like, I can talk to my mother about anything. I thought that was actually true. As I began to uncover the truth about what had happened to me, I realized that there were little signs here and there that I realized, like, oh, this actually wasn't healthy parent-child relationship dynamics. There was a time when I was graduating from 8th grade. This existential question of what do you want to be when you grow up is what was asked of me and my classmates for our yearbook. Well, I did not know what I wanted to do, and I was like, why would I lie? So I said undecided. I'm thinking it's cool because to me that shows integrity. Like, I'm not out here lying. I don't know. I'm only 14, it's okay. And I remember my mother reading the yearbook. The response was, why would you say this? You're the only one that has undecided. And it was, well, you could have put something. That's embarrassing. This really was has been a thread throughout my life of starting to doubt myself and thinking something was wrong because I did not know what I wanted to do. I recognize now that this wasn't about who I was as a person inside. It was what I'm going to be presenting to the world. As I've been unpacking all of these things, I realized that actually was not a healthy response. That actually could have gone a different way, and that it wasn't about me at all. It was about what my mom thought other people would say about her. That's like the first instance that, looking back, really stands out. It's just held so much weight in my life that I didn't even realize at first. For the longest time, I was still disillusioned about our relationship because I was actively in this relationship that was like siphoning energy from me. Think about that 14-year-old I told you about who was pretty much criticized for telling the truth about being undecided about what they wanted to do when they grew up, and how the negative self-talk that was probably in my subconscious throughout the whole time. So I graduated from undergrad and still did not know what I wanted to do. So I did what I knew, which was return home to the family dance studio. This right here, I've never spoken about outside of therapy and those who are close to me, and even people that I've spoken to aside from my partner and therapist, don't even know the scope of this experience. But in a nutshell, in addition to being like emotionally and mentally abused, and again, I don't use that lightly because that's what it is. It's narcissistic abuse for a reason. But I was being financially manipulated and abused by my narcissistic mother for 5 years. It took me that long to find the confidence to leave, even though I had no idea what was next. On a high level, what did that look like? I was working for free. If you have any questions or you would like me to dive deeper into certain topics about growing up with the narcissistic parent, narcissistic mother, a covert narcissistic mother, leave it in the comments. I would love to create those videos if you are interested in that kind of content. Anytime that I would push to get paid, there were severe arguments, even though I was doing all of the work. There was a point where I was running the business, literally. You know, I used to get told things like, you live in my house, what do you need to get paid for? We don't have the money, XYZ. I had access to the financial statements and whatnot of the business. I saw that there was a possibility for me to make an income from this, but I never got paid. I was living in the house with her. And so these things were carrying on from the business office to the home. Like, it was some of the most like chaotic times in my life. And the only way I made money, any kind of consistent money, was I was manipulated into having to take like dance privates from different students to have some kind of money in my pocket. I was ashamed, which I realized is part of the narcissist game plan. I was ashamed because I felt like it was my fault. I didn't understand. It's an entirely different level to it when it's your parent. There were so many points where I walked away and then I was guilt tripped into coming back. Narcissistic abuse educators, they tell you about the cycle that they go in, that they keep you in to keep luring you back in. I was working myself to exhaustion. So I wasn't getting paid doing this full-time job. So I had to go get another full-time job. So here I am pretty much working 80 plus hours a week. I was learning how to not listen to myself, push my body to exhaustion, which eventually caught up to me. The turning point for me was the start of the pandemic when people were getting PPP loans. Remember, with financial manipulation, there was literally no record of me aside from a couple payments here and there in the bank account, but I was even an employee of this business. My mother told me that she would be giving me some of the money, like kind of like off the books. Because again, I was not on the books. I remember asking her, did she get the money? She said, yeah. And she never gave me the money. And she admitted that she never gave me the money. That was when I said, F this mess. This is crazy. I'm wasting my time. This is unhealthy. I have to go. Stepping away gave me the space to realize what was going on and start to unpack this thing and call the thing a thing. When I stepped away from the business, it was kind of like, all right, let's work on our personal relationship. And I remember going to therapy. This was the first time that I had a mental health professional start to call out what I had been experiencing. We went to therapy together. We had a joint session together, and then the therapist, we had our individual sessions, and then we came back together. My mother went first for her individual session. And when the therapist came into my individual session, she told me that she was identifying narcissistic markers and whatever they had discussed, whatever questionnaires they had done. And that was the first time that I started to be like, oh, this is actually like a thing. This was back in 2021, okay? It wasn't until 2025 that I finally found a therapist that specialized in narcissistic abuse recovery, okay? It's something to be said about working with somebody who really works with this and understands it, because I've found that though people might mean well, depending on their backgrounds, their religious beliefs, all these things, they can minimize your experience. They're kind of like, oh, that's just your mother. Oh, that's just this. No, I want to tell you, no, what you've been through is not healthy. It might be normal because these people don't typically face consequences. But it's not healthy, and you don't have to deal with the pain alone. I wanted to share this backstory to help you understand what it really means to me to go on self-discovery and healing journeys, and really just living unapologetically as yourself, as your most authentic self, because I've had that stripped away from me my entire life, and I'm still unpacking that. What I thought I was, who I thought I was, I realized that, oh no, actually, that's not me. That was the programming that was put into my head by my narcissistic mother. And it can be super scary, because what are you without all of that chaos? What are you when you step away from, that relationship? Who are you? And that is why I am choosing to share my discovery, my self-discovery journeys, things I've learned along the way, things I'm still going through, reclaiming dance for myself, all the things that I aim to do on this channel. It chipped away at me for so long, eroded any kind of self-trust I had. I realized that it's not my fault. If you have been through that, it's not this kind of thing. While your circumstances may have been different, but you still suffer the consequences of their behavior. I don't share this for sympathy. I share this to hopefully encourage you to take control over your life and who you want to be, and reclaim who you are. If you've made it to the end of this, thank you so much for listening. I hope that it's encouraging a bit. I'm standing here, I'm still okay. If you would like me to do more videos about this topic, please let me know in the comments. Thank you again for listening. I will see you in the next video.